all of whom hold incorrect, misleading, and dangerously reductionist and inadequate views of what Bill C-16 actually does and of what transgender people experience. From Megan Murphy's inconsistent assertion that gender is simultaneously entirely socially constructed and yet also an essential characteristic that individuals cannot themselves influence, to Professor Gadsad's contention that his declining number of retweets somehow constitute a threat to his free speech, it's clear that senators opposing this bill had to dig quite deep in order to come up with witnesses, given that these alt-right and fringe figures are the best that they could come up with. Today, the Senate's set to hear from Jordan Peterson. So, Peterson's made himself a household name due to his efforts to seek out controversy. Last year, Peterson compared this bill to totalitarianism, stating that gender-neutral pronouns were an extension of, and I quote, Marxist doctrines that killed at least 100 million people in the 20th century, unquote. These attention-grabbing, nonsensical statements reflect the bizarre fringe character of this bill's opposition. The idea that Bill C-16 is going to establish a secret gender police that imprisons rude professors who misgender their students sounds more like a conspiracy theory than a respectable position worthy of consideration in the highest legislature in the country. But to talk a little bit more about Peterson and his motivations, it's easy to see why he's continued to advance his ridiculous position on this bill. Peterson has what's called a Patreon account, and his profile has been incredibly lucrative for him. For those of you that don't know, Patreon's a crowdfunding site where users pledge money per month to content creators in order to support them in their creative endeavors. Peterson made his ridiculous public statement regarding this bill on September 26, 2016. In the 6 months following his hyperbolic stance against Bill C-16, his total Patreon income per month rose from around $1,000 to over $30,000 per month, which is incidentally about double the yearly income of trans Ontarians, according to the TransPulse survey. His inflammatory statements towards trans people and Bill C-16 have made Peterson rich. It's not hard to see why Peterson chases publicity, as every ridiculous, unfounded statement he makes drives his earnings up. In other words, he profits from spreading bigotry and misconceptions about Bill C-16 and the trans community. The income he's collected from Patreon was actually greater than his $175,000 university salary. And so it's not hard to see why Peterson seems to focus far more on being politically incorrect in public than he does in actual research these days. He was just denied a SSHRC grant after all. All this makes it clear that the Senate has not invited an expert representative of the University of Toronto's psychology department, as his supporters will allege, but instead someone who is first and foremost an internet-based, crowd-funded demagogue. In this way, there isn't much to be gained by engaging directly in dialogue with Peterson's ideas, because they don't exist for us to be able to engage with them. They're fictions, crafted to perpetrate ignorance among the Canadian population with the goal of furthering Peterson's own career and earnings. Of course, Bill C-16 isn't a form of Marxist doctrine. It's a bill that extends human rights. Sorry, the wind is making it difficult. And I have confidence that the majority of senators will see through Peterson's disingenuous and selfishly motivated arguments. What we need as transgender activists is the platform to let our ideas, our narratives, have the same sort of reach that Peterson's do. The only reason that Peterson has such cultural reach and rakes in so much of people's hard-earned money is because those people don't know better. Their ignorance of what transgender people's lives are actually like has allowed them to be taken in by Peterson's ridiculous lies. And the only antidote for ignorance is education. My hope is with the passage of this bill, governments across the country, in every province and territory, will realize how much work they have to do on issues like access to trans health care, on making sure that everyone has government ID that reflects who they are accurately, on teaching kids that it's okay to be trans in public schools, and a host of other issues. With courage and determination, we can build a better world so that trans kids don't have to go through the same struggles that we went through. Thanks very much.